Welcome, everybody, to our second session in the ALMA 2025 Roadmap webinar series. This is Yoel Cortex, Senior Librarian at Ex Libris, and we are joined today with Nili Natan and Eliyahu Falach from Product Management and Development. Thank you for joining us, Nili and Eli, taking time out of your very busy schedules. What do we have planned for today? An introduction, of course. We're now in our introduction. In fact, let's focus on our introduction before we get to the rest of the parts. We like to point out at the beginning of these sessions how users can get further information about the webinars and the recordings, etc. So let me just point out, in case somebody's not aware, this is our Ex Libris webinars, Explore the World of Ex Libris page, where you can register for upcoming webinars and view on demand webinars from the past, viewing the recordings. So you can register, you can search, you can view the recordings. I'm sure everybody has access to this page, but in any case, I'm going to send this out in the chat. So everybody's got that now. You can see here our current one. If I come into the on demand, I will see ones that are on demand. Here's the one from last week. You can click here and watch now. Also, the Ex Libris YouTube channel. I'll send that out to everybody. All of our recordings go up to the Ex Libris YouTube channel as well. And for example, if I were to come right here and search for the AI Metadata Assistant, so here we will see sessions about the AI Metadata Assistant. Here's the one from last week's session. And we've got the ALMA 2025 Roadmap webinar series, where you can register, see what's going on, view the recordings, etc. So for last week, we already posted a recording. Here we are this week with a link to the accompanying material, registration information, and when we are done with these sessions, we'll put up the recording here either later today or tomorrow. So that's enough on that. Then we're going to talk about the Mixpanel flows. Flows is a function in the Mixpanel, which we'll point out, do two examples. Mixpanel insights, again, we'll do two examples, point out what it is. Mixpanel boards. And then we're going to allocate 15 minutes at the end, 15 minutes at the end for Nili and Eliyahu. You may know Eliyahu as Eli. Sometimes he goes by Eli. To talk about the future roadmap plans, the early adopters, the status of the Mixpanel integration, and any other questions you may have. During the session, feel free to send in chats. Nili and Eliyahu will be monitoring the chats. Many of the questions I can already predict that you'll be asking, we will save for the last 15 minutes when Nili and Eliyahu will speak. I'm sure there'll be questions about when is it coming out, who will use it, who will not use it, what is it replacing, what is it not replacing, how is it integrated within ALMA, within Primo, all kinds of questions like that. That's why Nili and Eliyahu are here and would be glad to answer. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So as we saw on this page here, there's a link here to a series of presentations on using Mixpanel with Primo V. That's a link from the 2025 Roadmap Webinar Series page. So you've got a full explanation here of the roadmap highlights, the early adoption, getting started, etc. And then you've also got a series of 12 presentations here explaining different parts of the Mixpanel. For example, here we've got the insights reports that I spoke about a moment ago that I'm going to show, the boards that we're going to show, using a regular expression, we're going to show all kinds of things here. I'm not going to show the PowerPoints today. I'm just going to show everything live, but you're welcome to go look at the PowerPoints on your own time. Okay, so let's jump right in. So Mixpanel, I'm in Primo right now. Mixpanel, if I want to go to Mixpanel, I'm entering at the current time, I'll say, we enter via a website. In fact, I'll go in from zero, from the beginning. When I say from zero, I mean from the beginning. It's via a URL, and you go into the project. This is called a project. Every institution has a project. There's a login. I'm already logged in. You can see on the top right here that this is my institution, EXL Dev 1 Inst EU00. That's just the name of my institution. I could log out and log in. He happens to have already remembered me because I was already logged in. That's the current way of accessing the Mixpanel. Every institution has a project. You log into the project. Future plans for integrating that, like today, to be able to come in directly from within Alma. You know, today in Alma, we've got links directly to Alma Analytics, Primo Analytics. We're going to save that for the end when Eliyahu and Nili speak. So right now I'm in Mixpanel and I'm at a default board that I see that I, as a user, can customize, move things around, etc. And we're going to begin by talking up here on the left. I'm clicking reports. We're going to talk about the flows and we're going to talk about the insights for now. Then we're going to talk about the boards. So we're starting out with the flows, and a flow is something that doesn't exist today in our current analytics, the OBI analytics, and it allows the staff users to discover what are the frequent paths that users take when they're using Primo. For example, we're going to look at what does a user typically do after sign in? What does it usually typically do before arriving to the display full record? And what does a user typically do after the display full record? Where do we lose a user? Now, I'll also point out that there's a lot of good material from Mixpanel themselves. So in addition to our Ex Libris documentation, from Mixpanel, for example, if I were to write here Mixpanel flows, so it's bringing me right here to the Mixpanel documentation, flows, see frequent paths users have taken. So you can not only use our documentation, which our documentation, of course, is Primo specific or Ex Libris specific, a general documentation from the Mixpanel itself or on the docsmixpanel.com, fully available via the Mixpanel documentation. So we're going to create now a flow in order to see what happens after a user signs in. We're not going to get into in this short session what are the implications of that, what evidence-based decisions can we make, but we will start looking at what happens. So the first thing is to access the flows. I'm in the top right here and I do flows. But before we do that, I want to know, what is it called, the sign-in? Let's even take a look. If I come into the flows, the first thing I need to do is choose a step. It says here, select step, and I've got all kinds of steps here to check. Let's pretend that I don't know that the sign-in step is called sign-in. As we see here, my mouse is on sign-in. But let's say we don't know. So everything that's done in Primo, I'm going to sign in right now. My local time is 8:09 January 15th. I'll be able to see in Mixpanel immediately all of the activities I do in Primo because it's an immediate update. It's not an ETL that we wait every night. It's immediate. So for example, I'm going to come in here to the sign in. I will sign in. And not only will I sign in, I'll come along here and I will do a search, library, science, quarterly. Okay, sounds like a classic. So now I signed in and I searched for something. If I come into Mixpanel, I can view all of the events which happened today, even just now. So if I click here on the top left on events, and I'm filtering here by today, I can see that less than a minute ago, somebody signed in. So I know now that the event name, it's in the column event name, is sign in. Less than a minute ago. I'm going to click that today again to refresh it. Here's my sign in. And if I click that sign in, now it says 1 minute ago, I can see that. Let me make that a little larger so you can see as well. So signed in from a desktop, that's me. From country Israel, that's me. And here's the time, 8:09, that's me, Wednesday, January 15th. So now I know that I want to check the sign in. And it's the same thing if I want to know what is, I'm going to click now on the brief view in order to display the full record. Same thing here. I could, if I wanted, come into the events and see. Here's that search that I did. I signed in and then I searched, so I already see that 1 minute ago. So anyway, now we're going to create a flow and see what happens after this event called sign in. Okay, so let's do that. Here's my sign in, my search, and my display full record, things I just did 2 minutes ago. So we're going to create the flow. So under reports, top left, we're going to the flows. And we said we want to know the step is called sign in. So on the right pane here, now if you play with this, and we'll talk about when everybody has access, who has access, etc. But if and when you play with this, play with it. When you use this in order to maximize efficiency in your institution, which is also a form of play, you may see it slightly different because it's possible to customize the board. I prefer my board set up this way. So in the right pane, I'm clicking select step. And now we just know, we just saw that I want to check what happens after sign in is the name of the event. They're intuitive, you would know, but we checked it just to show that it works. Okay, so we're doing sign in. Now I want to determine here, I have 0 steps before, 3 steps after. So I could change this. The next example we're going to do with the display full record, we're going to check what is the 1 step before and the 2 steps after. But here we're going to do 0 before. I want to know what do they do after sign in. And what we've got on the screen here is called a Sankey diagram. And we can see here, user signed in, we have here A+1, A+2, A+3, the top here. And A is the step that we're looking to discover what happened before and after. A +1, +2, and +3 are the 3 steps that happened afterwards. We're also going to have A -1, -2 if we have steps before, which is going to be our next example. And what do we see here? So A, we have 100% sign in, and we know we have 100% sign in because that was what I decided I wanted to do. And then if I put my mouse on top of this bar, I have 100% sign in, and I can see from here that after sign in, I'm going to change this conversion. You see on the right here, I'm in conversion criteria. Instead of uniques, I'm going to do totals. Totals is the total amount of activities that happen. Doesn't matter if it's the same user or session. So I'm changing it to totals. And I'm also, by the way, you can see filtering by the last 30 days. And I could change this to the last 12 months. I could change it to just yesterday, etc. So what do I see here? Of the 100% that signed in, 33% of them, after signing in, performed a search, and 17% went to the main menu links. So they signed in, then they went to the main menu links. Others, oh, that's interesting. 6.45% changed their language. They signed in. Apparently, when they signed in, it started using their default language, and then it changed your language. So that might be something the institution sees if we're talking about evidence-based decision-making. Maybe they're making a decision to update users, maybe send out a message to everybody how they can update their default languages so that won't happen anymore. Now, something else interesting we see here, of those 100% who signed in, we said that 33% went to a search. And then 41.6 of those people who did a search did another search, and then they did another search. So they did 3 searches in a row. Some of them went to the display full record, some of them went to the main menu links, but the fact that people did 3 searches in a row means that on the first 2 searches, they didn't find what they were looking for. Maybe they found what they were looking for and needed to narrow it down. Maybe, and these are we're just throwing out some possible ideas. It's not something that definitely needs to be done, but maybe there needs to be some kind of training on using Primo, maybe some minor adjustments to the local interface. In any case, so we see that when we stand on one of these bars in the Sankey diagram, we get a breakdown of what happened after that step, and we can also put our mouse hovering over the line going to another section and see exactly what happened there. We could filter this in various ways. For example, I see now that 33% went from sign in directly to search. I could come into the filter here. I clicked filter in the right pane, and maybe I want to filter by country and see, well, is that happening in Germany as well? Add. So now I'm looking at just Germany. So Germany, 46%, that's more, went directly to the search. And then from that search, now this is interesting. Here, the majority after search in Germany went to display full record. But around the world, if I remove that, I'm clicking remove next to the filter, we see that the majority did another search. So in Germany, they did a search and went directly to the display full record. Maybe they did a more efficient search. Whereas in the rest of the world, most people after doing a search, or 20%, if we break it down to all the various percentages, did another search. So that's a flow showing what happens after a user signs in. Now note also on the bottom here, we have drop off. That means we lost, in quotation marks, we lost the user. Not necessarily lost, but let's take a look here. If I say Mixpanel drop off, they've got a nice explanation here. May as well take advantage of the fact that we are enjoying the documentation from the Mixpanel. So I'm going to say Mixpanel drop off. Get a little explanation here. So here, if someone's interested, they could read more about the drop-off. There's more there as well. I'm going to say Mixpanel drop-off in one word as well. Measure revenue drop-off, measure conversion through a series of events. The series of events is that Mixpanel, so you're welcome to read more there. Let's take a look at, I'm just going to check the chat and see if there's anything relevant for me at this stage. I don't see anything. Let's do a quick check here. Those of you who are in, just send in a chat that you still see me, still hear me. I get concerned if we're 18 minutes and I didn't see a chat. So, okay, people are telling me they're still here. Great. All right, so let's go. Oh, someone says they're riveted. Okay, great. Let's continue. So now I want to do another flow. And this time I want to see, how does a user get to the display full record? Or what are they doing after the display full record? Are they doing another search? Are they clicking the available online? Are they doing nothing? Now, nothing could be good because it might be that they found something of valuable physically, went to the shelf and got it. They're no longer in Primo. But let's take a look here. So I'm going to do another search here. Let's say I want Krakow Library Science. I'm searching for something with Krakow and Library Science in the library catalog. And so now I did the search. Now I'm going to click a brief record. Here we are. Let's take this one here. I'm clicking a brief record to get to the full view. And we can pretend again that I don't know what that is. And we can see the events, and then I know what is the event that I want to measure. So here we are. I'm going to go again on the top here to events. Note that I'm not saving this. We're going to talk about saving later when we get to the boards. So events today. Here we are, display full record less than a minute ago. So here's my search less than a minute ago. Here's my display full record. So I know that the name of the event is display full record. Now, it's not necessary to do that every time. I'm doing it because I want to point out a very nice functionality, which is that we have an immediate update. I'm stressing it. I know I already said it, but I'm stressing it again. It's something that has come up over the past, what are we, 2025? The past 13 years, believe it or not. 13 years we've been doing this. So, at least with Alma and Primo. We've been doing it many more years than that altogether. In any case, so now I want to make the flow on the display full record. And unlike our previous flow, this time we're going to check what happened before and after. So again, we're in the reports and we're going to go to the flows. So I'm going to select the step again. I'm in the right pane here, select step. I'm going to take the display full record. And then I've got here by default, it says 0 steps before, 3 steps after. And you can see my column A is the display full record. But I'm going to click here the 0 steps before, 3 steps after. I'm going to change the before to 1, change the after to 2, although I could leave 3 steps. It gets a little much. But I'm going to change the after to 2. So let's see what we're looking at here. So now we've got first column is the A-1. It says A-1 there because that's what do they do before the display full record. So most people, and that's logical, they did a search before they got to the display full record. And that's logical because they have to have a record on the screen there in order to click the brief record to get to the display full record. So that's why it's the majority. We can also see here 3.7% were in Facet's usage. That means they did a search, then they came and they did a Facet, then they went to the full view. Lateral links, other events. So here's my display full record. That's going to be 100% because that's the event we're checking. Now, what happened there? Some of them did another display full record. Some of them did another search. 7.41% clicked the online resource link. That means when they did their search, they found something which was online, and then they went to the full view, and then they clicked the link here to go. They clicked the online link and started to access the record. I just clicked the online link so that I can access it. Page not found, but I clicked the link. So that's what they did here. So we can see now for some reason, people are doing a lot of display full records, or they did the display full record, then they did another search, and then apparently they found it the second time. So we can see here, they got to the display full record again. So the display full record, they search display full record, again search, and then display full record. Again, I'm pointing out that I can put my mouse on top. I'm not pressing, my hands are free as you can see, and see the paths they took afterwards. If we put our mouse on top of a path, we can see the details of that path. And again, we could filter this. Let's filter this again by country, Germany. Maybe there's something a little different here. Let's take Hong Kong. Hong Kong, let's take 12 months now. And instead of uniques, let's take totals. Okay, so now we're on, let's take Hong Kong again, add. All right. Hong Kong. So before the display full record, they either signed in and went to the display full record, which means they already searched, then they had to sign in order to get to something, or they were at the main menu, went to the display full record, and then here's what they did afterwards, and then they dropped off. Okay, and we're not in a training session, so I'm not going overly in depth. Our goal here is to give a little introduction of what is the Mixpanel. And again, I'm going to check the chats and don't see anything in the chat, and we will continue. So now we're going to get to, I don't want to say more interesting, but something closer to home, I will say, because it's something people do today, reports. So insights reports. So let's create a report now. I'm going to create a report of search terms, the most popular search terms being used Then I'm going to show how to use a regular expression to filter those search terms. You can filter them regularly, manually from a list like today in analytics, and you can also use a regular expression, like, by the way, you can also do today. So let's take a look here. So I'm going to look for the search term, and that's in an area called search. So let's say I'm in reports, and I'm going to say insights. Insights is the type of report we're making. We did flows previously. Now we're going to do insights. I hope we are able sometime in the future to do funnels and retention as well. I'm sure we will. I'm sure this is just the first of many, many Mixpanel sessions we're going to have. So now I'm making a insights report. Again, in the right pane, I'm going to choose the metric. The metric in this case is going to be search. And now I'm going to break it down somehow. What do I want to show? So the whole area is search. It's not a subject area. I'm not using the term subject area like in the OBI analytics. It's a metric. It's something that includes other areas or other metrics. I'm going to change the unique users to the total events. This is the total number of events, as it says in the pop-up, as opposed to the number of users who did the event. And by default, it's giving me this line graph. We're going to change that in a moment. And I'm going to break it down by search term. So I'm clicking the breakdown. How do I want this to appear? Right now, it's just giving me the numbers of the searches. But I want to break it down by the search term. So here we've got search term. I'm going to choose search term. And again, it's still giving me a line graph. And on the bottom, it's giving me a breakdown here. And I'm going to change on the top right, instead of line, I'm going to click there. I'm going to change it to a table. These are the different visualizations we can choose for the insights report. I'm going to change it to a table. So now it's giving us the last 30 days, the top 12. Last 30 days is here. Top 12 is here. Sorted. We got a sort option here. It's sorting descending by the number of events. These are the defaults. It's assuming that we want to know what's most popular, so it's descending. It's assuming we don't want to know everything. We want to know the most popular ones, so it's top 12. But of course, all of this can be changed. If I don't want the top 12, I can change it to the top 5, for example. Or I could say I want to see all of them, show all rows. Or I could say I want the last 12 months instead of the last 30 days. I'm going to put it back to the last 30 days, though. Or I could change the sort. Instead of by the total events descending, I could say I want it total events ascending. Or I could say, instead of by the total events, I want it by the search term ascending. So now you can see it's alphabetical. But I'm going to change this back to sort by the search of the total events descending. And instead of showing all, I'm going to give me the top. Let's get the top 20. Okay. So now I see, what are my users searching for? Something that could be useful for collection development, perhaps. And I'm looking at it in a table. This might be nice in a stacked bar. Nah, we're going to see a stacked bar later. In any case, oh, a bar, that's nice. We can see that information and communication technologies in provincial pedagogical libraries in Poland has been very, very popular. Perhaps that was on a reading list. In the last 30 days, there's been 63 searches for it. Followed by Krakow in library science. Looks like someone's doing some research on library science in Poland. Here's another Krakow, this time for information science. This ISBN was searched for 56 times. Let's go see what that ISBN is. Probably it was on a reading list. So I know what my users are searching for here. Information and communication technologies and provincial pedagogical libraries in Poland. So that's this one here. Sometimes they search by title, sometimes by the ISBN. Gloria Steinem, feminist extraordinaire. Yeah, these look like they were copied, pasted from a reading list, or perhaps not. In any case, so we're seeing our top searches. Now, I'm going to change this back to a table. And let's say here, I see Gloria Steinem is sometimes capital, sometimes not capital. I see Krakow is sometimes with a K, sometimes with a C. Here it's with a C, here it's with a K. Sometimes it's capital, sometimes it's lowercase. So I can make a regular expression on this. Or I could manually choose both uppercase, lowercase, and C and K. In any case, I'm going to go to the filter here. So one option, let's say I want the Krakow ones. I want all the search terms that include Krakow. And I see that, let's even open up a Word document here, just so things are clear. I see that sometimes users are searching with a K in both the beginning and the end. Sometimes they're searching with a C. Sometimes they're searching lowercase. And sometimes, I'll fix that. And sometimes they're searching with the C lowercase. So I need to take into account all of these options. So one option is to just start typing here and choose whatever was, oops, not there, filter by search term. And now I have all the search terms and I can start typing and just select all of them that include Krakow somehow. Then I could do the same for for K. But the problem with that, as we know, is if someone searches tomorrow for, instead of Krakow, the city profile revisited Krakow and the history of books in the middle 18th century. They won't find it because I've hard coded what I want to search for. So instead of that, I'm going to remove this. Instead of that, I can make a regular expression here. So I'm going to take a picture here so we can compare the before and after. You can see right now I have many things that don't include Krakow. For example, the first one doesn't include Krakow. The ISBN obviously doesn't include Krakow. I want only those, for example, with the lowercase, lowercase c, lowercase k, uppercase K, uppercase C. I want only those. So what we're going to do here is under the filter, I'm clicking the plus. We're going to create a custom event property. So I clicked it and it says create custom event property. Here we are, custom event property. And I will call this webinar 1 because we got webinar 2 tonight. I could insert an example and change it. Very nice feature, by the way. Or I can start seeing what are my options here. So it says to insert a property, control space to see a list of formula functions. So let's do control space. And I'm going to choose here regex match. Regex match. Now, I don't need to be a programmer, but I do need to know a little bit about a regex. So if I want Krakow with a C or a K, capital, non-capital, one option is, let me make this larger so everyone can see well, would be to make K or a K, RA, and then actually I'll make this K or a K, and then a C or a C, RA, and then the same thing here. And this is just a regular expression that means it can be spelled any of these ways. Even more, it'll even catch if I got something like that, or even something like that. In any case, this is the Krakow, an irregular expression. So what are we going to do here now It says period to insert a property. Now I need to say, on what field do I want to do this match? Click the plus. I'm going to match it on the search term. It's giving me the syntax. It says now do a comma, then in quotation marks, put what you want to search for, close your parentheses. Okay. So I'll follow instructions. I got the comma. Now in quotation marks, I'll put in my regular expression. That, KKCC, that, OW, that. Okay. And now I got to close my parentheses. Looks good. If I got an error, I'll come back and fix it. Apply. Now, beautiful. Look at that. So now we only have strings with Krakow or Krakow with a C or a K, capital or not capital. We no longer have, going back to our picture, we don't have this ISBN anymore. We don't have this ISBN. We don't have Gloria Steinem, Feminist Extraordinaire. We've only got ones that meet our query of the Krakow. Okay, now I'm going to save this because this is a lead in because our next topic is the boards, which will be brief because I see we are approaching our segment that we want to give to Eliyahu and Nili. I'm going to do save now on the top right. Now note, when you save a flow, when you save anything, a report, when you save something, it needs to be saved to a board. So I'm going to save it to a new board. And I'm going to call my board webinar morning, and that's enough. So now I just created a board and I saved this in the board. Later when we start talking about the boards, we will go more in depth on that. Okay, let me make one more insights report. Maybe I'm interested now in knowing about facets usage. How are my users using facets? Yeah, I will do one. Even if it's at expense of the boards, I think this is more important than doing the boards or doing the boards a lot. So let's say on top right, reports insights, just like we did last time. And now we need to find a metric. So I'll come into the metrics area. We have a metric called facets usage. And I'm going to change this from unique users to total events. And again, I want to break this down somehow, because if I put this in a table, it's by default giving me the line. If I put it in a table, so I can read the values, I see there were 54 facet usages in the last 30 days. Really not telling me much. So I'll come into the breakdowns. And I want here the facet type name. And the facet value, because I see the creation date, I see the journal title. These are what they faceted by, but what did they choose? I don't see. So in addition to the name, I'm going to click here and I'm going to say, give me also the facet value. So now I can see what they chose in the creation date, what they chose in the resource type, articles and books. I'll change this to the last 12 months even. Okay, we got availability, resource type, creation date, languages, journal title, author creator. A lot of requests to filter by author creator by Alicia Hen, subjects, etc. Now I could come and filter. I'm going to click the filter and say I want only those which, oops, sorry about that. I want only those with a filter of facet name to be availability or resource type. That's one option. I could come into the facet name and say I want those with resource type. Now I get only resource type, or etc. Another option, I'm going to get rid of that filter, is within here. Let's say I want only resource type and availability. So I could take the others, I clicked it with my left button of the mouse and say exclude. So I could either use the filter there on the right pane, or I can come and get rid of these. So I'm going to say maybe I'm only interested now in the availability. So again, I got a couple of options here. I could just keep getting rid of all these. Maybe that's what I'll do. And then in the availability, I want to break that down. Maybe even within the availability, I want to filter only by what states here available P, which is the available physical, or the online resources. And then I can make a pie or something. Maybe I want to know in the last 12 months, because we see up on top here, that's my filter. In the last 12 months, how many people are faceting by physical? How many people are faceting by electronic? So here we are. In the facet value, we've got available P, online, open access, which also might be important, but I'm going to get rid of it, and peer reviewed. So now I've got available P in online resources, and I want to break this down. Now this could be nice for a pie. So here in the table, I'll give it a pie. That's a nice looking pie. That looks like a donut. Those of you who are used to the visualizations and the data visualization of OBI, not the analytics, the data visualization, this is what a donut looks like. Mixpanel calls it a pie. Also very nice. Pie, donut, another type of food they chose. So sometimes it's called a soufganiya. So now we're going to save this. And again, we need to save it in a board. I could give it a title already here, but let's wait. So we'll say save. Now the board that I made before, here it is, webinar morning. This is the board that I created a moment ago. I'm going to save it there. And now I'm in the board. It's called webinar morning. This is my donut, and I'm going to call this pi. For pi, I'll call it P and E, physical and electronic. That's the ALMA terms. Pi, P and E, facet usage. Okay. So now let's jump to the boards very quickly. Then I'm going to turn it over to Eliyahu and Nili. I'm just going to see the chats one more time. Still no more chats. Very, very surprising. Maybe everyone's just mesmerized. Just send something in if you hear me okay and still see me. I want to make sure everyone's still with me. 43 minutes without a question or comment. A little surprising. Just someone send in and say, yes, Yoel, we hear you, we see you. Okay, people see me, people hear me. Great to hear, thank you. All right, boards. So on the top left here, we've got boards. I'm going to click boards. And these are all of my boards. The board I made today is called Webinar Morning. Here it is. Here's the two things that I made. I could have added a board directly from here. This is my popular search terms. This is my P&E facet usage. On the bottom here, add content. So I can make a new report and just add it directly here. I can go take an existing report and put it here. Media, let's add a media. So I can come to media and select an image. I'm going to add an image there. I'm going to add the Ex Libris logo here. And I'm going to drag that somewhere else. I'll drag that up to the top. And maybe I actually want to drag that here to the left. So now I've got a board like this. I'll save it. I can add this to my favorites. Every user can have favorites. I can click the heart up on here on the right, or from the action items on the left pane, I can also make this a favorite. Then it immediately gets added here on the left to my favorites. I can also get a URL for this to share it. If I say copy URL, it says on the bottom URL copied. Another way on the top right here, I can do the manage sharing. And here I'm giving access to everyone as a viewer. If I make the board public here, I just made it public. That means even people who aren't logged in can see it. I'll copy the URL, pop over to another browser where I'm not logged in, and this will bring me the board even though I'm not logged into Mixpanel, which means for the purposes of this, I'm not a Mixpanel user, and I can view the board. Okay, that brings us exactly to 8:45 local time, and I said I was going to leave 15 minutes for the end. There's a lot more to talk about. That's just really the end of the fork, as they say, katzez mazleg, or a very, very brief introduction. However, I think you did manage to get some kind of general information about that.
Yes.
So, are there any questions before we turn it over to Eliyahu and Nili? And I am checking out the chat here. I just want to make sure. So, I don't see any question. Oh, can we save flows and insights in the same board? Yeah, I wish I had more time when people ask these questions. I'll say yes, but with a little caveat, but yes. Okay, so I will turn it over to you. Take it away. I'm no longer sharing. If you want me to share and show the presentation, I will. If you want to show the presentation yourself and share, go ahead.
I'm just sharing. Can you see my board?
Yes, we do. We
Yes.
see your screen, not your board, your
My,
screen.
my screen, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm already
We're
with
all making
boards
Mixed
and
Panel 24 hours a day.
right.
6 days a week only, though.
Okay, just if you can
Okay.
put it in
Yeah, I'm clicking it, but it's not responding. Oh, okay. No, but
okay. So I would like to leave more time for Ellie. Thank you, Yoel. It was great. It was a sneak peek to how
Thank you for letting me
Mixpanel.
show such a wonderful product.
Yeah, anyway, and as Yoel say, we will continue to have a lot of session. I'll just want to put you on the timeline. Yoel just show us example of how Mixpanel is responsive to events that are coming with Primo VE events. The status is that we have 50 customers using, and those are our early adopters, the sites that register to the early adopter. They are enjoying both Mixpanel for a subset of events sent from Primo VE, but the main analytics platform for them is the OBI. But with their help, with the focus group, we managed to develop the method how to integrate with Mixpanel and how to save that. And Ellie, if you can move to the next slide, just to be more clear, Mixpanel is just going to be the analytics platform that's going to save you with the NDE UI. With the NDE UI, when you decide to onboard with it, you will get access to a project of Mixpanel. And with that project, you will get an admin access. You will manage your user over there, invite the one that will be consumers or the one that will be analysts that will be more useful and active. You will also have out-of-the-box boards that we are designed for you, but you can also take those boards and tailor to your needs, and you will see we will also going to share with you the approach of share projects where if you created a nice board and you want to share it with the community, there will be a project for a community and a board, and for us also to update OTB boards, and you will take it from them. And of course, we will enrich on the documentation and training with more insights. Now I will pass I will give Ellie a few minutes to discuss more about comparing events.
yeah,
Go ahead,
okay.
Ellie, it's yours.
Let's talk about comparing Mixpanel and OBI. Why? Because it was a big issue raised by our initial focus group. Now, generally, while it's totally understandable, it is not that recommended because the systems handle and calculate data differently, making comparison inaccurate. Therefore, it's important for us to share with you some examples that will help you understand how to handle this if you choose so. to compare between the two. So I will show two cases. One talked about events comparison, and the session is about session count comparison. Let's start with the events. My subtitle is the user actions versus system actions. While in Mixpanel, we only send user-triggered events. They are being tracked and not system trigger events in the background, as in the OBI. For example, if a user removes a facet, Mixpanel tracks a facet event triggered by the user. In contrast, in Primo Analytics, it counts both the user-triggered and the system-triggered events as a separate events. Another example is when a user adds 5 facets in Primo Analytics, it records 5 events, one for each facet. While in Mixpanel, we will count only one event as the user click the apply filters, but all the details that we are lacking in those 5 events in the OBI will be in the properties. It's important to understand that Mixpanel works with properties, and all the juice, all the story of the events are being described in the properties, as Yoel showed you. Therefore, you can filter and analyze into in-depth analyze. This is how Mixpanel works. So let's see those actions. So I'm here in, I will show first the OBI. There are like 5 filters checked here. And now this is, I opened the dev tool, clicking on F12 in order to show you the immediate action that we are sending. So I have 5 facets, and I will click now the apply filters. I click the apply filters, and as you can see, we've just sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events. The first one marked in blue. Let's see, this is facet include. Refine, this is the name of the facet, the name of the events. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. While in same action in Mixpanel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I will click the apply filters, and let's see, I have only one event, the name facets usage, but you can, as you can see in the facet type, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 facet types, and as we have also the facet type name, facet type value, facet value name. All the information is, we still have it, but we are showing it to you in a different way. You are not losing any data. It's just in a different way how Mixpanel is built. Let's go see another example. I want to delete one filter. I have the active filters here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 filters, and I want to delete the reviews. I will click the X and see what happens. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events, while the user clicked only on a single on a single button. Let's see what are these events. I'm looking at the one that marked in blue. This is the remove, just I did. This is the name, facet include, remove. The other, let's see what the other actions. The other actions are, the second one is a search that goes under the hood. Why? Because the system invoked another search with all the 4 facets, the remaining facets, and the other events are 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the facet, the active facet. So we are counting on one click 6 events, while in Mixpanel, I will have only one event, the facet usage, but Here I can see the facet action type is remove, and I can see here what I removed. I've just removed. I removed the facet types. This is the T level, the show only, open access, open access. So we are telling the same story, but in a different way, in a way that it will help you to handle and to work and play with Mixpanel in the best way you can do, because this is how Mixpanel is built. So we built the new design according to the Mixpanel demands. Let's go and see a bit about session comparison. Well, generally speaking, in Primo Analytics, sessions are reported twice. Once when a guest starts an action, and again when they sign in. In Mixpanel, we know how to merge the sessions from a guest to a logged in user. We can merge in order to provide a complete view of the user journey. The immediate impact that you will have, you will count less sessions. Let's see. I'm here. I'm here as a guest. I want to sign in. I just invoked a search. This is my search event search, and this is the session number. Okay, it ends with C3. Now the next step, I will sign in. I just sign in. This is my name, Thomas Safransky. This is the sign in event marked in blue. Here you can see sign in. I'm still with the session number ends with C3. So I'm still two actions on one session. Now I will invoke another search as a signed in user. I'm Thomas Safransky. I invoked another search of art. And as you can see, this is my event. The session is now a completely new session, 656. So one user, two actions as a guest and as a user. The system counted two sessions. While in Mixpanel, all this process will be under only one session. Why? Because we know how to merge the activity of the user. Let's see. I'm here on December 5th at 5:56. I made my first action with the main menu links. I made more actions as a guest. Here at 6:02, I signed in. Here was the merge of my activity as a guest into a logged in user, and I continue with search, display for record, search, etc. And all the actions as a signed in and as a guest is under one, in Mixpanel they call it the distinct ID, is under one session. So this is the two main cases that you need to understand when you go and you try to compare the two analytics system. It won't be accurate, but it's important. It's really important to know these actions, because the information is still being sent, but in a different way. That's why I'm always telling our customers, the new customers, the focus group customers, first go by and see the breakdown of the events and the properties. Learn them in order to know what to ask and how to use them. It's not that you will select a search. Under the search, there are so many properties that they can tell you a different story. You can search a search type, you can search a search term, you can search really a large amount of property that will lead you to a very filtered and precise question that you may raise. Thank you. Yoel.
Okay, so thank you, Eliyahu. Thank you, Nili. Thank you, everybody who joined us. As usual, we will be posting the recording to YouTube. There will be a link from the education webinars page, which we saw at the beginning, a link from the Roadmap webinar series and the YouTube channel. So thanks, everybody. We got some more sessions coming up in the Roadmap webinar series. We hope to see you then as well, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.